Hi everyone, we just wanted to give you a quick heads up in advance. We found today's episode really moving, so please make sure to reach out if you find you need some support. Hi everyone, for those rejoining us, welcome back. And for any of you listening for the first time, I am Millie McIntosh and I'm here with one of my ride or die besties, Charlie.
Hi guys, I am Charlie Bowd and I am the founder of Rumbletums, and we are so delighted, as always, to be back for the next series of Mumlemmas and More, where we talk a lot about everything and anything, and literally nothing is off limits, as I'm sure you know by now. So how are you today, Mill?
Oh my God, the girls had me up in the night. So Sienna wouldn't go to bed for literally like 2 hours. I read her about 6 stories. And then Aurelia woke up at like 3:30 a.m. and I didn't go back to sleep. So I'm really feeling it today.
Oh, wow. It's really savage. Why is that always the way? It's like they know.
It's always the way. I'm feeling extra grateful to our season sponsor, Remedy Kombucha, because I'm so tired and it's really going to perk me up for today's episode.
I have to say, I'm slowly becoming obsessed with Remedy. You kindly got them to send me some, so my fridge is now absolutely jam-packed. And it's amazing. I'm like totally obsessed with it. It's my, new go-to. And I love a fizzy drink, as you know. So it's so nice to know that it's healthy as well as being totally delicious. So today's wonderful guest is the coach and host of the Good Glow podcast, Georgie Crawford.
I am so excited to get into this with Georgie because I'm just so interested in her story. I went on her podcast, The Good Glow, and we just had such an open and honest chat, and I was really surprised by how much I opened up to her because she just made me feel so comfortable and safe. So yeah, I just can't wait to have these like in-depth discussions with her today and just hear more about her story and her experience with her breast cancer. Just can't imagine going through that.
I can't imagine.
And we are going to discuss the 3 Mumlemmas that Georgie has brought with her today. You can expect, I think, some just really profound and moving conversations, but definitely not without some funny moments, because I know that she always kind of looks on the bright side, and I think she's going to have a really positive message for our listeners. We're also going to be hearing about Georgie's fertility journey, which I think will be really interesting because that's not something we've really discussed that much on the show.
Yeah, it's a new topic for us. So should we get her in?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, welcome to the show, Georgie. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, and thank you guys. And Millie, you've been so supportive to me over the last year or so, and I appreciate it so much. And it's just so nice to meet you in person.
When I came on your podcast, I literally was like, I need you in my life. Like we had such an amazing open chat, and I finally got to like actually meet you in person, and I hope it's the start of a friendship, but no pressure.
No, I'm here for it. And yeah, I did find on my podcast that we had such a connection. And I think that's the great thing about podcasts, is that women can connect with each other and share their stories and make new friends.
Totally. You definitely made me feel so comfortable that I could actually share. I shared with you like more than I'd ever spoken to anyone, like especially on a podcast. I was in like floods of tears, so it was quite an emotional one for me, but it was so good to have that conversation. I just want you to know, obviously you're in a completely safe space with us today, and yeah, very excited for everything we're going to talk about. But we're going to kick off the episode with a little game that we like to play with our guests.
Okay.
Super relaxed. There's no wrong answers. It's called the Mumlemma Confessional. So we've got some little cards here on the table.
Have you seen the cards? Did you see them when you came in?
I didn't see them. No, I haven't.
So all you've got to do is just pick any number between 1 and 13, and we'll find the question, and you just have to answer it.
Okay.
As honestly as you possibly can.
Okay. Oh God, the pressure.
First thing that comes into your head.
Okay, let's go for 3.
Oh, okay. Number 3. Okay. Have you ever pretended to be asleep when your toddler wants to play?
Yes. I think I had a 3-year-old during COVID, and everything was, will you play with me? Will you play with me? Will you play with me? So yes, I definitely have.
I sometimes make up a game where we have to pretend to be asleep.
That's a good one.
Like, let's do pretend sleeping. So we just like lie on the bed.
I think every mum's done that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's a good tip. I'm going to take that forward.
Charlie, do you want to do the next one?
Okay, let's do number 6.
Number 6 is, what is the last WhatsApp you sent?
Oh, the last WhatsApp. So I sent a WhatsApp about my dog. I have a dog, Piper, who's 3, and she's like my baby girl. And it's snowing in Dublin today. So it's the first time that she's seen heavy snow and she's with my parents. So I sent a WhatsApp to check out how she reacted to the snow. And she loved it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I bet she's so excited. They must just be like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I think my WhatsApps have definitely become more boring as I've gotten older. So maybe my WhatsApps a couple of years ago would have been different. But yeah, that was it this morning, checking in on my little Labrador.
Okay, so Mumlemma 1, this is your Mumlemma. How do you cope when a health crisis hits you when you're a mum? So this is really at the heart of your story as a mum, isn't it? Can you just tell us what happened to you?
Yeah. It was 2017. I worked in radio all of my life and I loved my job in radio. I was a workaholic. I always worked on breakfast radio. So I was up at the crack of dawn into work. And for so many years, I gave every part of myself away. But I really wanted this promotion in this bigger radio station. I was trying to prove myself. And I got married to my husband, Jamie, in 2015, and we started trying for a baby. And I was really excited about that journey. And little Pia, my daughter, came along in February 2017. I was really excited. Now, I was reluctant to leave work because I felt like I wasn't really where I wanted to be in my career. But I went on my maternity leave and I loved it. Although I think we can all relate to the kind of giving every part of yourself to your child and maybe not looking after yourself as well as you should. And just before I was due back to work, about 7 months after Pia was born, I found a lump in my breast in the middle of the night. And 5 days later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was just such a shock. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't breast aware. I wasn't checking my breasts. My hand fell against my chest in the middle of the night and I found the lump. And I think in that moment, I knew I had cancer, even though everyone was trying to convince me that maybe it was a blocked milk duct or something. But I think I knew in my heart and soul that my life had changed forever. So I went on this incredible journey of chemotherapy, losing my hair, going into IVF to save my eggs. Really just my whole world turned upside down. But thankfully, I'm 5 years cancer free now. And my cancer, although it was the worst thing that happened to me at the time, over time has become this incredible gift. And it feels even weird to say that because that's not the case for everybody who's diagnosed with cancer. But I really made peace with it and I've worked really hard and I've completely transformed my life in every way.
And going through all of that with like a new baby.
I think my child, Pia, my darling Pia, who I adore, was almost like my guardian angel during it because she was 7 months old. I couldn't fall apart. And I just really wanted to be happy and enjoy my time with her. Like I always felt like she was such a miracle and such a gift to have a little girl. So I didn't want to wake up every day and cry. And it was so hard to see myself with no hair on my head, no eyebrows, no eyelashes, and see my young 32-year-old face looking back at me in the mirror. But I'll never forget actually the night that I shaved my head. I was so nervous for Pia to see me the next morning. I actually have a video of it that I only shared last month, I think. I'll send it to you guys. But I came into the kitchen that morning and I was like, oh God, what is she going to think of me with no hair now? And she looked at me and she smiled and she just started running her hands over my head. And in that moment, I've never felt so accepted or so loved.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, guys, don't get me started.
You know, when you also have young kids, you just, you're their mummy and they just love you, you know.
Yeah. And
no matter what you look like. And
yeah, that is true. And it took that to happen for me to see that. And I was so worried. I was so worried that night, the night before, lying in bed, wondering what she was going to think of me. But, you know, she was my bright light every step of the way and every day. And she really got me through it. And thankfully, I came out the other side and my hair grew back. And I always promised myself I'll never forget what it was like to wake up every day and just be stripped so bare and be so vulnerable. But as time went on, I rebuilt. I used to say to Jamie, I'll never laugh the same way again. Like cancer, it's changed my life so much. What if because my sense of humor, you know, the way we laughed together was everything to me. And I was like, what if I don't find things as funny? Or I never feel that freedom of a moment just to be in it and not worry about cancer. But Jamie said, I promise you one day you will laugh the same way again. And now I laugh harder. I see things more clearly, you know. It's like you put on a different lens and I used to joke that I used to wake up on a Monday and think Mondays were a pain in the ass when I was well and I had to go to work. And then in my recovery from cancer, I said, I'll never take a Monday for granted ever again.
So it gives you a new perspective on life, I guess.
Yeah, it was like, I feel like I've had a brain transplant. Everything is different.
So you just feel really grateful that you're there and you get to get up that day and you're okay and you're well and you have your family
and live again. And like just, I think I always say, you know, we're in the days that we'll call the good old days. You know, in years to come, we'll look back and we say, oh, they were the good old days. So I really want to live and appreciate, and hopefully by sharing my story, help other people. Now, we all have struggles. We all have bad days. I mean, I don't get up and skip down the road every day, but I think it's important as we share our stories that we can take something from each story and maybe bring it into our lives and put our best foot forward, but also to just appreciate every single moment that we're well, because it's such a gift.
And do you think being a mum kind of helped you with your cancer diagnosis in a way? You're saying she gave you strength.
I think for anyone listening who two big things happened at the same time in their life, so becoming a mother and also going through a traumatic experience, it's hard sometimes to see what came from what. So I often wonder, you know, would becoming a mother have changed me and made me more grateful and made me appreciate life? So it's hard for me to tell sometimes what came from what experience. It's all muddled up into one. But definitely having Pia and having to get up and leave my house every day and not curl up in a ball and, you know, feel sorry for myself, which I would have been well entitled to do, you know, but having her to get out and, you know, Pia would nap for 2 hours every day when I was sick. And you know, those 2 precious hours when they go asleep and you're like, oh God, I can be me again. And in those days, I used to sit in my back garden. So for my whole life, I told myself that I was this certain type of person. So I hated being outside. I hated feeling cold. I didn't like to exercise. You know, very early in my life, I made up my mind about who I was, and I didn't think that I could change my mind about who I was. So in those precious 2 hours that I had every day, I would go out into my garden. And this was the first time in my life that I stopped because I was go, go, go for so long, so many years. So when I stopped, I got to know myself. Like, who am I today? Because who I was yesterday doesn't have to be who I am today. So I gave myself permission to evolve. So for so many years, I was just going around and around in circles. Every day was the same. So when I was sitting in my garden, and I'd always put this pink dressing gown, Jamie hates it. I actually threw it out when I got better. But I used to put this pink dressing gown on over my clothes. I'd take off my wig, and I'd sit in my garden and I'd listen to the birds, and I'd say, God, have they ever been so loud? How did I not notice them before? And I'd come in every day and I'd have all of these breakthroughs. And I would say, if I get to live and survive this, things are going to be different for me. And for all of those years when I was revolving, all of a sudden I started to evolve, and I started to find out what I was made of and who I was and love myself. And then from that point, everything in my life changed.
Wow. Gosh, what an amazing story.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring,
isn't it?
That you can take this horrific trauma that's happening to you, and instead of being like angry and sad that like, why is this happening to me, you know, at the same time as like having a daughter, and instead you've actually got like such a positive look on like how it's changed your life for the better. I think it's such an inspiring story and message to other people also who have been diagnosed and are thinking like, what's the future hold for them?
Did you think about that? Did you like worry about the future? Did you have lots of fear around it?
Yeah, I definitely have bad days. I got into counselling pretty quickly, for the first time actually in my life. And I was a little bit nervous about that. But I found this amazing woman who was able to hold me in moments. And I really could tell her things that maybe I couldn't tell my family, you know, the fears about the cancer coming back and if I was going to survive and what would happen if anything happened to me, like my daughter. See, I'm so close to my own mum that one of my biggest fears was that Pia wouldn't have that relationship in her life, because my mum is my best friend. So when I thought about her life, I was like, God, what would her life be if she didn't have me? And this is weird as well, actually, because I was so sick, it allowed Pia to make connections with my family. Now, she obviously would have made connections as it was, but like even deeper connections. And to see her, I used to look at her and I'd see her laughing with my stepdad the same way she'd laugh with me or with Jamie. And I think, oh God, like if anything happens to me, I know she'll be okay. But definitely scary, really scary having those thoughts. But I have to say, and we have these guidance cards, and I wrote out, because I used to pull cards when I was really bad and see what messages would come up for me. And one of our messages is, have patience with time and the healing will follow. So I just trusted the healing will come if I have patience with myself. And it did. And thankfully, I have many more good days than bad days now.
So the second mum lemma we've got is, what can you do as a family to cope with major stresses when they arise and to grow resilient together?
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? This is interesting. So when we were going into the second lockdown in Ireland, I remember watching the news and just feeling like doom, just incredible doom. And I turned off the TV and I said, okay, everybody sit down at the table. Now everybody is Jamie and Pia, the dog as well. But I sat them down and I said, okay, we're going to make a joy list, a happy list. So I asked each member of the family what makes them happy. And I was like, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to stick it on the kitchen cabinet. And anytime we dip over the next couple of weeks, we're going to pick something off this list and we're going to do it and we're going to be okay. So what was so interesting about that is their answers surprised me. So what I thought made my child happy or Jamie happy, they were giving me different answers. So Jamie was like, you know, I love Sunday watching the NFL. I love when you make that gorgeous snack and, you know, Pia sits beside me on the couch. And then I said to Pia, what makes you happy? And she says, flying like a butterfly in the garden. Oh, when she said that, I was like, we've never done that. We've never done it. And you know the way kids, like, they make up, they just want to give you an answer.
They do,
you know? But I was like, oh, now I know. And so next time things got tough, I was like, out into the garden, we're going to fly like butterflies. But I think it's a really great thing. And even to ask yourself, you know, what actually makes me happy? What's my joy button? Because when times get tough, this is something that I learned in my recovery that I never understood before and never thought about before, is that you can actually cultivate joy in your life. So I thought you just stumbled across joy. I thought, you know, you get up on a Friday and if something joyful happens, well, then that's great. But I never thought that actually you can schedule in joy into your life. And I was really lucky to speak to Oprah's life coach, Martha Beck, on my podcast. She is the most incredible lady. She's like the OG life coach. She's been Oprah's life coach for 20 years. And she said, she wrote this book about how she connects with joy all the time. And I said to her, you know, how can I bring more joy into my life? And she said, have you ever played the game, It's Getting Warmer, It's Getting Colder, with your child? So that's the game. I'm sure lots of your listeners will know, but you're trying to find something, and the closer you are to it, the warmer you get. So you'll say cold, 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 warm, 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 hot, hot, hot when you're about to find it. And I said, yeah, I play that with Pia all the time. And she said, well, just do that in your life. Lean towards things that make you feel warmer. So if you have a decision to make, do I pick A or do I pick B? Ask yourself, what's going to make me feel warm inside? And just lean towards the things that make you feel warmer. So, you know, quality time with my family makes me feel warmer. So how can I set up my life in a way that I have boundaries at work, the laptop is closed, I'm going off now to find some warmth in my life, and then just connect with the things that make you feel warmer. And then she said, eventually you will lead a very warm life.
Yeah. Sorry, the children have just got back. Sienna's just got back from nursery. That'll be her wanting to go to bed. When I try to make a decision about something, I always say, if it's not a yes, instantly a yes, then it's a no.
You're good at that now.
I do that. And like, if I'm trying to make a decision about something and doing it gives me like a kind of sinking feeling in my stomach, like I'm like, that's a no.
Wow. I love that.
I think otherwise you can go through life doing stuff you don't want to
But
do
hard,
for
there
others.
Sometimes there are things, if it scares me a bit, I don't want to do it. It's hard because sometimes I think, do I just not want to do it? But like, where is that feeling coming from? Is it because I just have a little bit of fear around it? But would I feel great when I've done it? So it's different if I have if it makes me a bit anxious, but I think actually it's normal to feel a bit nervous, but actually when I've done it, I'll feel great. But if it's something where it's something that's stopping me spending time with my family, or it's something I just don't really care about and it's going to distract me and use up my energy, it's a no. I'm much more selective of my time.
And that is connecting with your gut. And that is what I ignored my whole life. For 32 years, my gut feelings, I pushed them away. I was on this path of thinking I knew all the answers and I knew what to do. And my gut was always talking to me and I always ignored it. So the fact, Millie, that you connect with your gut and you let that lead the way is so powerful, because it will never lead you astray.
I really believe in that. If people ask me, like sometimes people will say, what's your kind of piece of advice to other mums or to other people? I always say, go with your gut. Yeah. It's always my answer. Like through all of motherhood, whenever there's so many different ways to do everything. So there's no right or wrong. So it's like, how do I decide? Which way do I feed my baby? Which way do I do weaning? Which way, from every decision, right? There's like, which way do I go? Which style of parenting? And you have to do like what suits you and what's right for you and what fits in with your core values and just ultimately what's going to benefit your family and make you happy. I actually wanted to ask you, we weren't going back to your breast cancer. And how often should we all like check ourselves?
They recommend that you check your breasts once a month at the same time every month. I'm an ambassador. Sorry, you might want to take this out. Ambassador for Breast Cancer Ireland. So just going on what they say. So check yourself if you can once a month on the same day. Know what your normal is, because I think sometimes as women, it can be so hard to stand there and look at your naked body, especially as it changes. But know what your normal is. You know, if you may not be used to getting lumps or bumps. Like I knew when I found a lump that was not normal for me. So I straight away went to the GP. But there are many different signs and symptoms of breast cancer. So get familiar with them, know your body, and never be afraid. You know, when we go to the GP and we're often feel like we're in a rush or we have to get in and out and they're busy, and I always say, can you just check my breasts before I go? And I can walk out there and know that I've done the best for myself, because no one else is going to look after your health but you. And you need to acknowledge things. You need to face things. You need to book that appointment you keep putting off, because early detection actually saved my life.
And I'm really glad that you've told me about checking every month, because I'm quite good at like having my smears every year, but actually I haven't been so good at doing the breast check. So that's something I'm going to put a little reminder on my mirror in my bathroom, I think, on a Post-it note to like remind me to do it. Or I guess you can put it in your calendar on your phone or something, just like so it always comes up and reminds you.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, going back to the resilience of a family and facing things together. I think as mums, that if we really look after ourselves, we're passing that down to our kids, and your girls will see, well, my mum looked after herself and my mum put herself first from time to time. So I'm going to do that. And it's okay to do that. And I think sometimes as mums, we always eat like the burnt bit of the dinner, or we stay at home and we do the ironing, and, you know, we go, oh, I'll be grand, I'll survive. It's a real thing in Ireland. I'll be grand. But actually no, because your kids are watching everything you do. So if you sit there and you eat the burnt bit of the dinner, when they get older, they'll think, that's what I should do. So every decision that you make for yourself is actually a gift to your kids.
What I really loved from your story is how your traumatic experience helps you to actually connect with yourself and find this love for yourself. When I came on your podcast, I just made the decision to start taking medication to help with my anxiety, which I've found really difficult to even admit because it felt like such a big deal. And I realized afterwards, actually, it's really not. There's just this stigma around it, which is why I thought it was like this big taboo to talk about, hey, I've got anxiety, and actually it's so bad that I need to be medicated so I can get through my day-to-day life. And I felt there was like this shame around it. But once I'd said it, I found it really freeing to be like, actually, it's fine to admit it, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. And it really helped me to talk about it. And also the medication really allowed me to do some deeper work on myself and start to connect with myself and find some more order in my life and really start to understand like why I am the way I am. And so my journey's kind of evolved. I went onto medication and I was on it for about 6 months. About halfway through that process, I had a big revelation, which was that I decided to end my relationship with alcohol. So I've now been sober for over 6 months, and I've come off the medication, and I have so much less anxiety. Yeah, it feels really good to talk about it and I will probably bang on about it, but it feels really good to talk about it because honestly, for me, ditching the booze has just been like really life-changing, and it's really helped me to just like find the happiness in my life.
Okay, so we're coming on to Mumlemmas S3. So how can we talk to our kids about these, difficult things, including serious illness and death? What's been your experience there?
I think, thankfully, nobody close to us has passed. Jamie's dad died before Pia was born, and she has a picture of him on her bedside table, and she knows that he's in heaven with the angels in the clouds. Like, that's about as far as we've gone with her, because she's such a like sensitive little girl, and she loves her family so much that it just seems just so big and scary. But I definitely think that we should, you know, face these things and find a way. But it's definitely something that I haven't, a place that I'm probably too emotional to deal with that.
Yeah. So did you tell her about your cancer, or you told her you were sick? Did you mention the cancer word, or how do you navigate that?
Yeah, so I had nieces and nephews who were a little bit older than Pia, and they were definitely completely freaked that I had cancer. They'd heard the word cancer before. They knew their granddad had passed from cancer. So when they saw, you know, Auntie Georgie, who's so young, and with the cancer word, it was so terrifying for them. But thankfully I survived, and hopefully it can show them that if you get sick or you get cancer, that it doesn't necessarily mean the end.
My own experience of being young, we had lots of, you know, family, I guess, health issues and deaths along the way with grandparents and things. And actually my mum just protected me from all of it. I never, went to funerals or never kind of had that conversation. And I've actually never had an experience in my adult life now. I've got no experience, nothing, no kind of strength around that. It will obviously happen someday. And I don't know how I'm going to handle it. So this is, it's why I'm interested. Have things changed now? Are we meant to be honest with our kids as they grow up about the realities of life? And
maybe a book would be a good way to explain it. Or like, I know like they, I don't know, children's, you don't want them to get freaked out like watching like Bambi or something, but like, the kind of the story of life and yeah, it's
the realities of it.
Yeah, it's interesting because Pia doesn't like to watch movies because, the way there's an arc in a movie and there's always an adventure or something that they have to overcome.
There's a scary bit.
She refuses to watch movies. So, yeah, it's a tough place to navigate, and it'd be interesting to see what your listeners have, could tell us about that, because I'd definitely be interested in hearing what they think of that or their experiences. I remember when we were kids, the dogs used to just go to farms. Was that a thing there?
I know that's what my instinct was to say. Yes. She'd gone on holiday, yes, or she'd gone to live like by the seaside, or just, something where Sienna could like picture the dog there, happy, she's okay, it's not upsetting, but she's just no longer.
Yeah, no longer, she left home.
She left home. We're no longer able to see her.
Yeah,
but she's okay. Maybe we'll meet again, but just not. We can't.
Not in this lifetime.
Yes, not anytime soon. So where are you on your journey now?
Oh, in such a good place. Thankfully, I've gone on an incredible journey over the last 8 months. I wrote a book. It's called Glow. It's out on April 27th. And it's a mix of like everything I've learned over the last few years, and then also how you can create this beautiful life for yourself, connecting with yourself. And I love it. I hope people will enjoy it. So I spent months writing that. And then we are also on a surrogacy journey. And in my book, and the last chapter is kind of about like letting go and trusting the universe. And I wrote about my surrogacy journey, which we had started in Ukraine, and we were due to do an embryo transfer the week of the war. And our embryo transfer was due to take place on the 21st of February, and the war broke out on the 24th. And it was such a devastating time. And, everything just stopped, obviously. Our biggest concern was all the people we'd been working with in Ukraine and their safety, and our surrogate mother, that she was okay. And we thought that maybe the journey would be delayed for a couple of months and then things would get back underway. I think I was actually in denial about the whole thing. And eventually then we decided to move our embryos from Ukraine, and we restarted our journey in a different country very recently. We were connected with the most incredible woman who is now pregnant with our second baby.
Yay! Oh my God, congratulations.
Wow, that's amazing news.
Yeah. And
when did you find out?
We found the embryo transfer took place on my birthday on the 23rd of January.
Oh, wow.
And I prayed and prayed, please let there be a heartbeat. And I was on my way down for a sea swim in Dublin. And I was meeting this girl that I hadn't seen in ages. And I went down and I spoke to her before I spoke to Jamie, because we got a text about it, that our surrogate was pregnant, and we were just, it's amazing. I can't believe it after 5 years of waiting and praying, that just to hear the heartbeat is absolutely magical. And I'm so happy to share that news with you guys. I haven't spoken about it before.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like that's such a big deal that you've shared it with us.
Yeah, it's huge.
Like, I'm so happy for you.
Oh,
and I'm literally putting all of my energy and like wishes for you out there into the universe. And I feel really like,
oh my God. It's amazing.
Thank you. And the reason that I shared that is because I feel so in such a safe place here today with you guys.
Well, honestly, just thank you so much for coming all the way to the UK to my house to record with us in my basement. So nice to just meet you in person. I think you're just so inspiring.
I think you've helped me already. I feel like I'm going to go into my life a different person after this.
Oh, thank you so much. And I never thought the day that I sent Millie a message on Instagram, I think I tried to contact you a few different ways, that this is where we would end up being. And I think it's such a lesson in, you know, put yourself out there, send the message, make the friendship, reach out.
Life is short.
It's so short.
Go for it.
And yeah, it's just been an incredible experience. I might stay actually, guys.
Please do.
Yeah. Stay all afternoon, we can hang out. Okay, well, after that very emotional conversation, it's time to have a little bit of silliness. So you guessed it, it's time for our quiz, Are You Toff Enough? I found the perfect non-alcoholic sparkling wine called Wild Idol. It's handcrafted by expert winemakers, so it doesn't undergo the fermentation process, and it's full of delicious flavours. It's also vegan, gluten-free and low calorie. It's such a great find, so I really wanted to share it with everyone, and Wild Idol have really kindly donated 2 cases to the lucky winner.
Wow, that's such a great prize. Does it taste like very similar?
Yeah, it does. It tastes like a sparkling wine. It doesn't have the kind of like alcohol taste, but you still get the kind of flavour of the sparkling wine. And it's, honestly delicious.
Just being honest, I definitely am still going to be on the hard stuff, but happy to cheers you with a Wild Idol drink.
Well, perfect. We can still have it because I have a little toast.
Of course. What a great prize. And one lucky winner will receive 1 case of crisp white.
And 1 case of sophisticated rosé, which is my favourite. Right, so let's get to the question that you need to answer in order to win this amazing prize.
Yes, so what is the killer question this week?
In season 1, which cast member takes their dog Noodle to a therapy session?
Gotta love Made in Chelsea.
If you know the answer, make sure you're following at Basement Chat and at wildidol.official on Instagram. Like the giveaway post on Basement Chats. Leave the answer to the above question in the comments.
As always, full T&Cs apply and you can find them in our show notes. The competition closes at midnight on the Monday after this episode is released, and you can only enter once. The winner will be picked at random and contacted via DM on the Tuesday. Good luck, guys! I really hope, guys, you've enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to know more about Georgie and follow her story, you can find her on Instagram at georgie.crawford, and you can find her podcast, The Good Glow, at thegoodglow.ie. What do you think will stay with you about Georgie from today?
Do you know what I think is really going to stay with me is just her positivity and her positive outlook, and how incredible that she actually said that getting cancer was a gift. Yeah. That was like really, I think that's really going to stay with me. Like the way that she had flipped that in her mind and reframed it in such an incredible way to take so much positivity from it and to actually just change her whole life around and listen to the kind of message that the universe had sent her, or that her body had sent her and said like, hey, you need to like change things, like, and she's completely changed her entire life around, and now she's like dedicated to helping other people.
Yeah. I think what will stay with me is the fact that she said that, you know, life is short and we'll look back on this time of our life as the good years and the prime of our life. And I think it's really, my mum always says that to me. And I think you can kind of only do that in hindsight when you're at a certain age, or if you've had like a big life-changing experience like this. And I think it's such a good reminder to people in our stage of life just to slow down, appreciate this time, be present.
And check your boobs.
And check your boobs.
I think that's a really important takeaway to
Me too.
all women from who've listened to this.
Yeah. So thank you, Georgie, for your wonderful pearls of wisdom. Guys, we want to hear from you too. Have you got a mum lemma that you'd like to share, or one that we can help you with? If so, stay tuned on Basement Chats for our shout outs, where you can DM us, or you can email us at mm@basementchats.com.
Also, check out our YouTube channel for full episode recordings and behind the scenes clips. The channel is updated every Sunday. Just search for Mumlemmas. And remember to subscribe, like, and comment. Please rate and leave us a review. We want to hear from you.
Please note, we're not experts, so please consult a GP or professional if you want to know more about anything we've spoken about on the show today.
Before we go, one last thank you to the tastiest kombucha around and this season's sponsor, Remedy Kombucha, available at remedydrinks.com/UK.
And of course, we need to thank our team, as none of this would be possible without them. Thanks to audio producer Sarah Cudden of Feast Collective, Leo Hunter, video extraordinaire of Hatch 108 Productions, and Basement Chats for creating this space where we can all have this chat freely. Before we go, here's a snippet of what's coming up on our next episode.
80% of your immune cells are actually found in the gut, which is why it's your first line of defense. And if you don't get your gut strong, then you're going to expose yourself to having more coughs, colds, viruses, and other pathogens.
So yesterday I did a physical stool sample and urine sample so we could find out a bit more detail.
Oh, stop it. And you're going to reveal it now.
Was it fungus, candida, parasites, cestode, trematodes, protozoa? Did it have legs? Did it not have legs?
Oh my God. Honestly, I can't.
Get your kids involved. Go shopping with your children. Give them their own little basket, their little trolley. Let them put things in. Make it fun. Help them. Get them steps. Get them in the kitchen. Putting all the ingredients into the smoothie. I mean, it'll be a mess everywhere, but that's fun, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Most of them
Sienna
just
loves
want
cooking.
time with mum and dad, don't they? That's all they want.